Stop wasting time chasing something that you don't really want. That's today's topic. I'm here with Dr. Jane, who is the founder and executive coach at GILD Coaching. Hey, Jane, what's up?
Hey, Sean. I love this topic because, oh man, I wouldn't say that my time was wasted because there were lessons learned. So when there are lessons learned, it's never a waste. But personally and professionally, this topic hits really close to home.
I am with you. And I love that you said that. So you were just sharing a really cool story that I want to hear more about. But yes, this shows up personally. It shows up all over the place professionally. And the one thing I'll say is, it's all a journey. So, hey, look, if you find yourself chasing something you don't want, now's the time to pivot.
But it's okay to pivot. It's okay to pivot.
Yeah. Now's the time to recognize it, change, and go. So, I mean, that's the overall message. If you discover that's what you've done, stop, go chase something you want. Take that energy and chase something you want. So that's our overall message. But let's talk about how this shows up both personally and professionally. And Jane, you had a great story you were sharing.
So I cut my professional teeth in journalism and I was really good at it. I rose into the ranks. I was an executive producer for Fox at age 24, actually. And that's really young. I mean, most people are just graduating from college, getting their first job, but I'm from a journalism family. So I worked in a newsroom during my teenage years and I had the job that most people were going to get a degree for. I already had that out of high school and then I still got the degree for it. But, so like my situation was different, but how did I end up there? That's not actually what I wanted to do. I was in a journalism family. I was making my grandfather really proud. He had all sorts of professional advice and I was good at it, but it didn't really feed my soul. And so I got to this pretty high place really young. I mean, 24, that's really young for that level of a management position. And frankly, I wasn't mature enough for it. But then I looked around and I realized, wow, wait, this goal that I'm aiming for is my granddad's goal. It's not my goal. Yeah. And I don't really want that because I want a family and I don't do anything halfway. So if I can't be in that position then I'm not going to take that position. That's just how I am. And I knew that I couldn't be that dedicated or married to that job if I explored the family path that I really wanted. So I pivoted. I went back to school. I shifted from news into sales, went back to school, got an MBA, went back to school, got a PhD, kept always learning. Right now I'm getting 2 different certifications right now. So, it's okay to pivot even when you reach a place when you're like, wait a minute, look how far I've come. I'm pretty far up this ladder. It's okay to feel a little dumb for 2 seconds. And then instead of feeling dumb, congratulate yourself for coming at this from a place of authenticity and pivot, like Sean says. I love that word. That's your word. I love it.
I love that. And I love that. That's a great story. And what's really interesting about it is you mentioned the emotions that came with that, meaning chasing this dream that all of a sudden you realize isn't yours. And that's a realization. That's part of the journey, right? And sometimes when we come to that, it's, first of all, it takes courage just to get there. I mean, I've certainly been there in other parts of my life and my professional career where, you're just like, I'm not sure I want to look over there because, I'm not sure what I'm going to see. So it takes courage just to come to that realization or at least poke that idea a little bit. And then once you get there, sometimes you have these feelings like, oh my gosh, I just wasted my time, or I'm ashamed of myself, or I'm so disappointed in myself for not wanting what seems to be the thing that everybody wants. And so it's kind of normal for those feelings and emotions to like flit across, but then own it. Realize what you want. And I think what I heard you say is you in the end were grateful.
Yeah, because when I started to explore different things, I was like, man, the news lifestyle is not for the faint of heart. And I'm a pretty tough cookie, but it's also very unforgiving in many areas. And some people have no problem having a family and doing that. That's just not who I am. And so, you know, going into sales, going into advertising, marketing, just kind of my resume is kind of taken not a straight path through the woods. It's kind of, you know, veered off path, and you know, and then eventually diving fully into one of the first things that I studied, psychology. I haven't wasted a moment, because going through all of that, I wouldn't be a coach right now if I hadn't taken the journalism detour, because that's when I learned about coaching. I worked for a company and they trained me as a coach approach manager because that's their management style in the company. I was 21 when I got trained as a coach approach manager. And so that was a long time ago, you know. And so that's why I can say I've been coaching for more than 20 years, because I started coaching as a journalist manager. And it's just every single detour that I took, or that I was given, or every opportunity that I saw and I decided to explore, it's added a different layer of expertise. And so I would say there's never any wasted time. I was talking to some people recently. It was actually Valentine's Day, and they're like, well, I wasted so much time in this relationship. And I'm like, no, because what did you learn from the relationship? You don't just go through something, you grow through something. And then there's no wasted time.
Yeah, there's no wasted time. One of the worst, or excuse me, one of the most useless emotions or feelings or whatever is regret. Don't waste time regretting. And yeah, I love it. It's all a part of the journey, and it all is helping you get where you want. One thing in this topic that I think is really interesting to think about, and it certainly showed up for me, both personally and professionally, is, I don't know if I would call it the habit of chasing something you don't want, or this competitiveness that starts to show up in chasing something you don't want. And I'll say that like this, or I'll give an example. And this showed up for a client of mine the other day. And what was so funny is I felt like I'm looking in the mirror. So I'm really telling my own story here. But this was we started out by talking about the fact that she was interviewing for a job that she did not want. She didn't want it. And as we started talking about it, she started talking about the interview process and what she was doing and what the next steps were and all of these things. And at the end of it, she said, so what do you think, Sean? Do you think they're going to offer me this job? And I laughed, because I'm literally looking in the mirror, because that exact story has happened to me. Right. And I said, you know, what's funny is we've just spent the whole hour, or we've just started this out by laying the groundwork and saying, I don't want this job. And now we're at, hey, do you think they're going to offer it to me? And we both burst out laughing, because we both, again, looking in the mirror, could think of how this certainly shows up professionally, but also personally. I mean, I remember, and I told her the story, and she was like, yeah, same story. I was young. I was dating this man, and you know, he was a great guy, but it just wasn't working out for us. I mean, we had different goals, different, you know, lifestyle and what have you. And I was thinking, you know what? I don't think this relationship is working. You know, I think I'm gonna, you know, move forward and let this go. And he obviously was thinking the same thing.
Other opportunities.
Yeah. But what was so funny is he was obviously thinking the same thing. I mean, he was a great person, right? And so he broke up with me first. And I have to tell you, I was devastated. I was absolutely devastated. And I think I just became competitive in some way that he broke up with me, right? Well, fast forward, this is one of those really interesting, so we broke up. A few months later, he said, hey, let's give this another shot. And I was like, oh, yay, right? Because I'd been so upset about him breaking up with me. So we did, we gave it another shot. And here's the thing. He was right.
Stuff showed up.
Right. We weren't right for each other. So we ended up breaking up. But what was really great for me in that moment was it was so obvious to me how not only there, because I absolutely was chasing something I didn't want, and so was he. But yeah, it's almost this habit, this all of a sudden this competitive thing comes up with me. And so it's really important to just recognize that and and understand, quickly, hey, look, is this something I really want? And if I do, absolutely, let's put the energy into it. And if I don't, stop.
Yeah, and there's one thing that you said, you were both chasing something that you didn't want. I'll disagree. You weren't chasing it, you were allowing an exploration. It was something that you wanted, you were just on the wrong path, or in this case, with the wrong person. So for me, I have one marriage under my belt. I'm on husband number 2, and number 2 is a great match. I got it right the second time. First time, got married for the wrong reasons. My family expects it, and this and this and this, and these pieces of the puzzle fit together correctly, and okay, so, and it ended up being a horrific experience, really, really bad and abusive. So was I chasing something that I didn't want? No, I was chasing something that I wanted, but I wasn't coming at it from a place of authenticity so that I could identify the aligned actions that actually get me there. If you are too wrapped up thinking about what I can do to make it happen, then you end up being a bit frantic and making the wrong choices that are going to get you maybe not the total opposite of what you want, but a really bad imitation of what you really deserve.
I love that. And what I heard you say was try to always be objective and reassess and think, hey, is this path that I'm going on, number one, is it where I want to go? And do I want to head in this direction? And 2, is this the path, or should I pivot?
Yeah, pivot. There's that word again. I love it. I love it. So I think, can I sum up everything?
Yes.
If you find yourself not feeling fulfilled down the path where you're going, and you're like, gosh, do I even really want this? Back up from a place of authenticity, redetermine your goal, which we just did a video on goal setting. So go look for that one and watch that, because we're going to give you 5 goal setting hacks in that video. It's great. And then make sure that your actions align toward what you really want. Because if you are working under the mindset of doing what society wants you to do, what your family wants you to do, what anybody other than the person who looks back at you in the mirror truly deeply at your core, at your soul wants, you're chasing somebody else's dream, and it won't end up providing fulfillment or happiness. It just won't tick the boxes for you, and you deserve to have all your boxes ticked.
Exactly.
Fantastic. Well, if this video has been of help to you, or if you just like us, if you think that Sean's shirt is super cute like I do, give us a thumbs up. And then if you would love to get more content like this, please hit the subscribe button and the bell so that we'll end up in your feed in YouTube, and you will learn the next time that we drop another video like this to help you live a happier and more successful, fulfilling life.